whenever that you have a question, definitely you have a chat window in there. You can type the question. We encourage that you type the questions even during the webinar, so that when we reach to the question and answer time, then we will answer the question live. If we run out of time, then definitely we can reach out to you and answer your questions. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Team Canada's Tech Thursday session. My name is Wael Nuesri. I'm a sales engineer with WatchGuard Canada, and today we're going to be talking about WatchGuard Wi-Fi Cloud, and mainly we're going to be focusing on Discover. In our agenda, we're going to be configuring Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi Cloud, how-tos and tips. So we will start on how we can add these access points to the cloud, do the configuration, the management, add an SSID, and go through all the features that it is available in Wi-Fi Cloud, especially when we talk about Discover. Then we're going to be talking about remote access points, which is one of the features that we released a couple months ago, that it will definitely enable you to have a tunnel between your access point and your firewall. And then we're going to be talking about troubleshooting, the client journey, all the tools that's available for monitoring and troubleshooting within Wi-Fi Cloud. All right, so before we start going into the topics that we have for today, I just wanted to give a very quick summary of the access points, the hardware that we have. So we have the AP125, which is our entry point that definitely it's going to be useful for small offices or branch offices. Then we have the AP225W, which is mainly being designed so that it can be used in dorm rooms, hotel, assisted living, military housing units. So it have a couple of different, interfaces and ports that can be definitely useful when it comes to such application. Then we have the AP325. It's one of the most popular APs that we have, which is a medium-sized one. All of these are indoor, as well as the AP420, which is a high-density access point. It's also an indoor access point. But we have also the AP327X, which is the outdoor that you can have it in school campuses, RV parks, manufacturing yards, warehouses. That's going to be definitely useful in such environments. And it comes with external antennas that you can purchase from us, which is usually sold in pairs, we have a couple of third party that you can also purchase the external antennas from. Another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention when it comes to the Wi-Fi that is offered by WatchGuard, we have basic Wi-Fi, which is mainly the access point is managed, monitored by the firewall itself. This is not our topic for today. We're going to be talking about Wi-Fi cloud. So you have two offerings in here, which is secure Wi-Fi and total Wi-Fi. With secure Wi-Fi, definitely the managed platform, as you can see, it's Wi-Fi cloud. You have large scalability when it comes to the number of managed access points, configuration management with all the SSIDs, VLAN, smart steering, fast roaming, bandwidth control, all the dashboards is going to be available on both secure Wi-Fi and total. Additional Wi-Fi cloud-based management, which is when related to some enhancements related to like the groups and sites and some of the configuration that you can do before deployments, integration with third-party wireless LAN controllers. This is something also available on both. We have intelligent network visibility and troubleshooting available in total Wi-Fi and secure Wi-Fi, as well as the WIPs, which is also available in both. Total Wi-Fi is for the clients or the partners that they're looking for guest engagement tools such as splash pages, social media integration, surveys, coupons, and such kind of features that it's related to retail or to hospitality and so on. Also location-based analytics, that is like, for example, if you want to know, depending on the store, that the footfall information, dwell time, conversion so that you can, drive your business when it comes to knowing how many clients came back and use your Wi-Fi within your store. All right, so let's go into the first point for today, which is related to configuring Wi-Fi in Wi-Fi Cloud. And mainly, as I said, we're going to be doing that through Discover. So, the steps is pretty straightforward. Whenever that you receive your access point, you have secure Wi-Fi or total Wi-Fi on it, then you're going to go and activate it the normal way within WatchGuard portal for the clients or the partner portal. And then you're going to connect your access point to the power. Definitely we have PoE, switch, or the PoE converter that we can sell to you as well. And then we're going to connect to WatchGuard Wi-Fi Cloud. Definitely, you have to have internet connection. And it will get an IP address automatically if you have DHCP enabled within your network. And then we're going to go into the steps that it's related on how to add the SSID, add it to a specific site, and so on. So we're going to jump into the environment, and I will show you how this going to look like. Okay, so before we go into the environment, I just wanted to point out for you some of the helpful links. So if you go under our help center, this is where you're going to find all the documentations and the configuration steps for all our products like AuthPoint or WatchGuard Cloud Endpoint Security. One of them is for Wi-Fi Cloud. So you can see here we have for what's new, how to get started quickly, the Launchpad itself, discover, manage, analyze, engage, and go. So mainly the one that we will be doing today, it's going to be related to discover. And if you click on discover, you will see how you can get started and all the information that's related to the dashboards and so on. So once that you logged into your portal, which is your WatchGuard account in here, and you have an access point, definitely you can go to activate products and type in your the serial number in there. You can activate your access point, double check that it has the right information when it comes to the subscription. Once that it is, this is done, definitely you need to connect to the power. You have to have, PoE or PoE plus, depending on the device that you have, and access to the internet. Once this is done, you will see it that is going to show up in WatchGuard, Wi-Fi Cloud. So you can see here, if I go under my WatchGuard, manage Wi-Fi Cloud, this is where we're going to get started. In here, you will see that we have discover, analyze, engage, manage, and go. For manage, this is our legacy management application. For anyone that is used to do the configuration a couple of years ago, this is where we used to go to do that. But now everything you can do here from discover. You have analyze and engage. This is related to the portal setup, the splash pages. This is part of total Wi-Fi. We're not going to focus on that today. So if I click here on Discover, it will open another tab. And I'm just going to go quickly here over what you have when it comes to the navigation. Some of the information that's related to the dashboard and related to the monitoring and troubleshooting, we will cover later on. But mainly in here on the left of the screen, you will have the option start with the dashboard. You see that also on the top, we have something called locations, right? Definitely you can add locations and sub-locations, and you can add, floors under it if you have buildings with multiple floors. So whenever that we start here at the top, it's actually all the locations. So this aggregate information of all the location I have. One of the things that you need to make sure that you are under the correct location whenever that you're doing the configuration. Whenever that we will do the configuration, also the information, it's like when we create configuration, it will be inherited. Let's say that I'll create it under location, it will be inherited by all the other locations under it. So the inheritance is something that you have to keep an eye on whenever that you do the configuration. Definitely, it's going to make your life easier. if you have a golden template that for multiple access points, that it can be inherited onto subfolders. Right. So also, you see here that we have some information in the dashboard, which is the connectivity, performance, application, and WIPs. We were going to come back to this later on, but when you get started here and you have the access point and you just activated it, I'm going to go under monitor. I'm going to go under access point, and you will notice here I have all the access points that under multiple locations, some of them in Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, right? And I'll see each one of them if they are being updated, if they need an update, if they are active or inactive at the moment. Very quick, overview of the IP addresses, if they are connected to a specific switch, the link speed in there, the information, and you can go here on the right of the screen and you see more information as needed if you want to see if it has one SSID, multiple SSIDs that is being assigned to it. So this is for whatever that I already have configured in there. But now if I go over here under locations, any type of access point that you activated, it will go under staging area. And then you can decide, where you want to move this specific access point. And then whenever that you move it to a specific location, then you can have the configuration is being inherited from there. Okay. So if I go back here to monitor, I already have access points under my corporate or my company. So here the site is called Weil, and I have 2 places, Montreal and Toronto. Another thing that you will see here that you have something called floor plans. So you can actually upload the floor plans for a specific location. Like for example, if I go here, floor plans, I already uploaded that. I can, once that I have the access point, I can, drop it on the location, and I can see the information that it's related to that specific access point or multiple access points. But I'm going to go back here to, configure now, and I'm going to go over to the one that it's related to me. Again, if you notice here, when it comes to the configuration, as I said, the inheritance. Here I am under this site while I have Montreal and Toronto. This is what is going to be inherited into Montreal and Toronto sites when it comes to the SSID. Like I created a guest SSID in there, right? If I go under Montreal, for example, you'll notice that I have 3 SSIDs in there. 2 of them is turned off right now. It's only one that it's being broadcasted. And you also notice that we have the information about one that it is inherited and where it is inherited from. So this is definitely a very useful information as we go. So let's say that now I want to create a new SSID for all the sites, and maybe it is for contractors. So the first thing we're going to do here is to click on Add SSID. And the information, some of them is really straightforward. Let's say this one, I'm going to create an SSID for contractors. So I'm going to give a name for the SSID contractors. The next thing, as you can see, we have multiple steps. The first 3 is a must. We have other steps, but these 3 is the most important ones when you create an SSID: basic, security, and network. So the first thing is the SSID name, and we have the profile name. Then you're going to have to select the SSID type if it is private or for guest access. Here we're going to, for private. You have the option to hide the SSID in here. And then you're going to click on next. So it's kind of like a wizard. You have here the security. So in the security, it's the level, that you want when it comes to the security level. So you can leave it as open. It's not going to ask for any password. We have WPA2. We have a mixed environment. You have WPA3, but this is actually for Wi-Fi 6. So we're going to be choosing WPA2. When you do that, you will see that you have the option for PSK, which is mainly a shared secret or shared, password, and 802.1x. In case if you want to go that route, you will have here the information about, the radius settings. You can have the configuration of the authentication server. You have the primary and the secondary, and all the information that's related to the radius server. But for the purpose of this, demo that we're doing, we're gonna go with the PSK. And here that you're gonna put the information about your password, right? You have the option here, and it's disabled by default, is to mitigate the WPA and WPA2 key reinstallation vulnerabilities for clients. So mainly for this one, it's related that the APs can block the handshake messages that mainly can be used to exploit clients and force them to re-authenticate again. It is disabled by default because you have to double check first if the clients that you have, it's up to date, and you don't it's not going to make any issues or cause any issues whenever that you turn this one on. Now, the next one that we have here is the 802W, 11W, and 802 11R. So when it comes to the first one here, which is the 802.11W, this is mainly related to the management frames. It's getting, an extra level of security by protecting some of these management frames and mainly prevent spoofing when it comes to the spoofing attacks. Uh, it is disabled by default. If you want to enable it, you have the option here to go with required. If you say required, it means only the clients that they can support these features, they can be able to communicate with the access point. If you put optional, it means it's optional. So if a client that is up to date and they support this feature, then they can be connected. If they don't support, they also can be connected. When it comes to the communication, it's going to also be, as you can see in here, that is using encryption. So if I left as optional in here, and then we can go to 802.11r, which is something that I talked about all these points in a previous session when it comes to the Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi part 1. But mainly for this one, it is related to the roaming or the fast roaming, right? So mainly it's gonna allow the clients to establish all the security and association quality of services before they associate with the new access point. So it is going to make it, faster, and it will be more informed decision when it comes to that. You have the option here to go over the DS, which is the distribution system. When you say mixed mode, it means that it will support both that clients that they have this feature or not. If you say that I don't want this, there's no mixed mode, it means only the clients that they support 802.11r that will be able to connect. So as I said, these are disabled by default. When you want to enable them, please double check with the documentation that we have. Make sure that they are not going to have any conflict or any issues, because it depends. Sometimes you have old clients when it comes to the phones, or Wi-Fi card, or sometimes different operating system. So you have to keep an eye on all of that. Right, once we go to next, it's going to take us to the network now, network configuration. This is where I can decide if there is VLANs, right, for the SSID, whenever that it's connected to the switch and the switch connected to a firewall. Maybe it's in a different VLAN. I have a VLAN for contractors that on the physical level that's different from others, then we can do it. Otherwise, going to be VLAN 0, which is untagged, right? Then you have the option about bridged, which is there by default. It's going to be bridged to whatever network that you have, and it's going to get the IP address from that. So it depends on maybe the firewall. If you go to the interface, maybe you have a different VLANs, and each VLAN will have a different DHCP server. Then we're going to get the IP address from there. You have also the option of NAT. This is mainly if you want the IP address for that is given to the clients that they're going to connect via this specific SSID is different from the IP address that you already have within the network, and it's given through your DHCP server. Where you have the local IP address is going to be set up here, the start IP address and the end IP address that's going to be supplied to the end users. And also you have the ability of having a different DNS server that is going to be used by these clients. Other options related to the network, it's you have the L2 tunnel. This is mainly if you want to tunnel any type of information traffic related to layer 2. And I'm not going to do this, but I just wanted you to see here what are the options that is available. Let's see that you have the different type of tunnels, right? You have EOGRE, you have EOGRE over IPsec, you have VXLAN, and so on. So if you're interested in doing this configuration, it's going to be under network, and you can change it here with the tunnel interface. For VPN tunnel, this is something that we're going to be talk about in more details when we talk about RAP later on. For now, I'm going to just leave it as bridged. You have other options related to layer 2 traffic inspection and filtering, the communication that is happening between the access points, right? So that they are aware of each other, the fast roaming, the load balancing, all that to be, more, it's like in a smooth way. They definitely need to communicate with each other. By default, it's going to be an RF neighbors. It means that it's going to be over the air. You can say, no, I want it to be communicating over layer 2 broadcast, so it's going to be through the wire. But for now, I'm going to leave it with the default, which is going to be the RF neighbors. All right. So at this moment, as you can see in here, you have the option to save or save and turn on the SSID right away. And if I do that, so it's going to turn on the SSID for that level, which is the highest level, right? But we also have some other configuration related to it. So you can go here and say, okay, I want to go under access control. So you have the configuration that's related to the firewall, that it's on the access point itself. So you have the layer 3, layer 4 firewall rules. If I want to add that, let's say that for this SSID, anyone that is going to be connected, we can allow or block a certain type of traffic. So TCP, UDP for outgoing and so on. So this is layer 3, layer 4 firewall rules. Also, I can go under application firewall rules. This is layer 7. And I put the rule name and I say, you know what, for social networking application name, for a specific application in here that it is Google Plus, right? I want to allow or deny. So definitely this is useful in case that you have this access point as a remote access point, or that you have a pop-up event that you want kind of a simple kind of firewall within the access point itself. Also, you have the client authentication. This is sometimes people ask about this. What are the type of integration? We have the Google integration in there. Also, we have the Radius MAC authentication when it comes to the client authentication. Other things here also that's available, that if you want to have an allow list or whitelist or deny list, depending on the MAC address. So this is something that you can do in the access control as well. Some other options that is available for you. So as I said, the main ones is the basic security network. The rest of them is just an option in case if you needed to do that or not. So one of the things in here is related to the RF optimization. These are the default that is being turned on, right? Which is, let's say, the band steering in here and enforce the steering, but the rest of them, they are not turned on. So as you can see, the first one here is related to smart client load balancing. So mainly it is balancing the load of the clients between access points in the certain band. When it comes to the smart steering, it's mainly working proactively so that to steer a specific client that it is maybe moving really far from the access point and losing the power of the signal to communicate with another access point that it is much better than the access point that he is connected to currently. We have the minimum RSI base association. This is something also you can turn on here. And also we have the band steering, right, which is rated 2.45 gigahertz. So mainly that we want to make them use 5 gigahertz, and you have the option also to enforce or just keep it as an optional thing. Other things that it is not turned on by default here, it's related to 802.11k neighbor list. And from the name, as you can see, this is mainly it's the neighbor list or the neighboring access point list. It's type of information that is very useful, especially if you're using that with 802.11w. So that it will make it smoother when it comes to the fast roaming and fast transition. Same thing when it comes here with 802.11b BSS transition. This is going to enable the AP to warn the client, before they just to disconnect the client that, hey, we have a different AP that it's better, and we gonna deassociate you. And as you notice here, some of the things that it shows up once that you turn it on. For example, for this, it will the option it will show here if you want to do it for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz or not. And this one with BSS transition, if you want to do the association and the timer and the force disconnection and so on. Definitely, we have a lot of information that's related to the documentation in there that you can consult as well. All right. Other things that's available for you is the SSID scheduling. So this is useful. Let's say that you have a guest or contractor that they're supposed to be in the building only between 8 and 5. Then you can come here and say custom, right, from a specific day, from Monday, or a specific day to another specific day. You can select the time slot that the SSID turned on or turned off. So definitely this is going to be another security measure, right? Because if it's turned off after 5 o'clock, definitely you're reducing, the attack surface. And the last thing here is the traffic shaping, so that you can limit the maximum number of simultaneous association to a specific access point. This is, you can do some kind of calculation, find out what's the maximum number that you want, so that you will have some kind of quality when it comes to the people that they connecting to the access point. Also, you can limit the maximum upload bandwidth and the download bandwidth for you can also do the per user bandwidth control as well. If you're doing quality of services and you have the voice, you can do that as well. You have differentiated services, 802.1p or TOS. That's all of them that they are available for you in here. All right, so this is when it comes to the different type of configuration that you need to do in the SSID. So if I say save now, I already am gonna save that SSID. I'm gonna go here back to configure. As you can see, contractor is there. And if I go to the lower level or the sub level, which is under Montreal, I will see contractors in there as well. At this time, I can come here and say, okay, I want to turn it on, right? And it will ask me, do you want it in 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or both? I'm gonna say both, and it will be on, right? And as you can see, that it's been inherited from the higher level in there. So sometimes you can do the configuration, right? If there's a specific environment, let's say that's a school, so you have the staff, IT staff, and students and teachers, right? So that you can create the SSIDs as you need it, even ahead of time. And whenever that you have the access points, you can just send it directly to the location. Once that's being connected and you assign it to a specific location, then it will inherit the configuration from there, and you can turn on and off the SSIDs as needed. Right. There are some other things that relate to the configuration. I'm not going to focus on it that much today, but as you can see here, we have at the top radius. So if you have radius server that you want to add, we have also the radio settings for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. If you're wondering, let's say that, hey, what are the channels by default that's used for 2.4? So it's 1, 6, and 11 because they are not overlapping, right? And the dynamic channel selection is turned on by default. Selection interval, it's every 12 hours. These are the default configuration there, including the channel width and so on. The transmission power of the access point, if you want to set as manual, auto. Some other also configuration related to the device settings itself. So if you want to turn on the access points into dedicated WIPs, this is something that you can do under device settings. The background scanning, all the different type of information that's related to the Wi-Fi scan duration in milliseconds. If you want, if it is a VoIP aware or not. So this is information that can be done from here. Okay, I'm going to leave from this one. So these are the mainly the configuration, right? That is related to the SSID. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one of the new features that introduced to Wi-Fi Cloud a couple of months ago, and it's called Remote Access Point or RAP as abbreviation. The main idea here that you can, have an access point configured, shipped to your home office or branch office of the employees, and we're gonna do the setup to have a tunnel that it is gonna encrypt the traffic between that Wi-Fi and the main office. So definitely this is gonna be very helpful in case that they need to access some resources behind the main firewall. They don't need a firewall within their environment. They don't need to have an SSL VPN or other type of mobile VPN. So they just can connect to that SSID, and that the traffic will be tunneled through a tunnel to the headquarter. One of the things to take into account here that the remote access point functionality is only supported on specific access points. So we have the AP225W, so that's kind of an entry point in case if it is, an employee with, one employee, or if you want to go with something that is going to cover an external area, we have AP327X, and also we have the AP420. One of the things is that you can configure multiple SSIDs to use a single tunnel, or you can define separate tunnel for each SSID. It depends on the protocols that you have and the policy that you have. To preserve the VPN throughput, definitely you can actually do a split tunnel. So the normal traffic of the end users, they can go directly to the internet. If it is supposed to be going to a specific internal network that is protected behind the firewall, then only that traffic that's going to be tunneled through that VPN tunnel. When it comes to the steps, it's pretty straightforward. What you need to do on the Wi-Fi cloud dashboard is that you need to create an IPsec VPN tunnel profile, which is we're going to see in a few seconds on how to do this configuration. Then we're going to add the IPsec VPN tunnel to the SSID profile that we already have, or that you can create a new one, and then you're going to deploy the SSID to the remote access point. That's all when it comes to the the access point side. There is definitely some configuration that you need to do here on the firewall side, but if you do have already, let's say that you have IKE v2 for mobile users, then you can add just another users, one or two users that it can be used to do the configuration for initiation of this tunnel. Okay, so let's jump into the demo environment. I'll show you how it looks like. Okay, so before we go into the steps, I just wanted to share with you where you can find the configuration steps and documentation for this. So this is where we started earlier when it comes to the Wi-Fi Cloud Help. We talked about Discover so that you can click on Discover and see how the configuration is done. But also, if you click here on what's new, the first thing at the top, it's remote access point. And there you can see all the steps, how it works, all the configuration steps that is required. So mainly here, I'm going to go back to the environment. I have a new location. I call it Space Base. So this is another modem that I have that it is connected to a different provider. And it's already, the access point is connected to it. It got an IP address from that router that I have. And we're going to have the SSID, and we're going to assign to it the VPN tunnel interface. So we're going to go back here to the configure. Here's the SSID that I created. You're going to give it a name. And after that, definitely the normal steps that we done before when it comes to the SSID, if it's private or guest. When it comes to the security, I'm just put a pre-shared key in this scenario, and then I'm going to go here to the network. This is the part that is going to be a bit different. So in here, the choice instead of bridge or netted is going to be VPN tunnel, right? And we have an interface that is being created. So before we come to here, we have actually to go first into the tunnel interface and create it. So to create the tunnel interface, as I said, you can have one or multiple tunnel interfaces depending on how many SSIDs, or you want all the traffic, going through the same tunnel in this scenario. So I have one that is being created. I called it staff. The tunnel type, if you see here in drop-down menu, we're going to choose VPN tunnel, VPN with IPsec. For the VLANs, it's going to be VLAN 0. It says untagged VLAN. We have then the remote endpoint IP address. This is going to be the IP address, the public IP address, or the static public IP address, to be very accurate, of your firewall. Then you have the option of using standard port. If it's using other ports for this protocol that you change maybe, then you can actually uncheck that and choose a different port. It just has to match on both sides of the access point and the firewall. Then we're going to go into phase 1 configuration in here, the normal scenario, right? That we have phase 1 and phase 2 configuration. I chose, usually the default here is 3 hours, and I change it to 8 hours. So it will match the VPN IKE version 2 tunnel that I already configured for the other users, right? Why should I do the, the configuration twice in this scenario? The choice definitely is recommended to go with IKE version 2. It's more secure, it's faster. Then we're gonna have, again, local and remote site. So the local is going to be the access point. For the authentication method here, you have PSK, and we have EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol. That's what we're going to use. Then when it comes to the identifier, we're going to actually choose here to use the identifier of the IP address of the access point that is being given by my router. Then the rest of the information in here, that the EAP username and the password, it's going to be configured actually on the firewall. So if I jump into the firewall, I'm going to go under the VPN. I already have a IKE v2 VPN that is being configured, right, with the same IP address that of the firewall, the external firewall. And then we have here under authentication, I just created a user called AP225W, which is, this is the access point, just easier for me to track it. This is a user that it is going to be part of the Firebox DB. I didn't use Radius. You have the option to use Radius as well if you wanted to. And then when it comes to the security, there's a portion that we need from here that it is related to the common name. So one of the things that you need to do is you're going to copy this information here, common name, later on, and then we're going to use it on the remote side, which is going to be the firewall, right, as an identifier here, right? So One of the things also that it's going to be using here, that we're going to be using a public key authentication, and we're going to use the certificate from the firewall itself for this process of authentication of phase one. So how are we going to get this information about the certificate? Mainly what you're going to do is we're going to go back here to our firewall, right? Under VPN, mobile VPN, get started, you will have the client profile. So you're gonna actually download that. And once that it is being downloaded, you can go to that file. Usually is zipped, so you have to unzip it. And you will see that there is the root ca.pem. This is the certificate that you can upload to the Wi-Fi cloud, so that to identify the firewall and to have the authentication happening properly. Right. Other things from the local here is just we chose that as MSCHAP version 2. For the AAA identity, it depends if it's radius, then you're going to put the radius IP address here. I just put the trust interface of my firewall as an identity, right? So this is all the configuration for the local left and the remote side. Then you're going to go to the combination of the cipher for phase one and phase two. It has to match whatever that you have. Usually, if you put AES-256, SHA-256 when it comes to the hash algorithm, Diffie-Hellman group 14, which is mod P2048, and the same, it's going to match here for phase two, right? The lifetime usually for phase two, it's 3 hours. So this is all the configuration. It's just like you're configuring a VPN tunnel, right, on a firewall. Once that I have that interface, I can go back to the SSID and assign it to the SSID that I'm going to use or broadcast to my employees or the employee at home. So under network here, I chose that tunnel interface. Another thing that needs to be done in here, that you're going to do netting, right? So even though that this AP already got an IP address, which is bridged from your router that you have, but that is used for the management and the identification of that access point. But for the users that is, or the clients that's going to be connected to the access point, you're going to go with netting. So I have here a pool of IP addresses from 11 to 100, right? So that is going to be assigned to the end users, also the DNS information. And this is where you can have the split tunnel for client traffic if you want, and specify which network internally that is going to be for the traffic that's going to be tunneled, right? So that's all when it comes to the configuration. Whenever that you do any changes related to this, you will see that it will tell you that the SSID is going to be restarted. Once that it is there, to check that if it is working or not, from this side, that you can go here under your tunnel, okay, and you can see that the tunnel is up, it's green, right? VPN with IPsec, it's using tunnel interface staff, and this is the IP address, and it's been up, right? There is no issue with that. And then definitely you can test it by telling the client, please go ahead and test it. We can test that by just connecting to it. And I'm gonna go now under clients, and you will see here my Samsung is being connected to it. One of the things that I wanted to notice here, if it is only one SSID and there's an issue with the VPN tunnel, you will see that the radio is going to go down, right? So the VPN tunnel has to be established first. If it is serving more than one SSID, that one of them only is VPN tunnel, then the one that's not VPN tunnel, definitely it will show up. Okay, so as you can see in here, we are at the top level and we are on the dashboard. This information is aggregated information for all the location that I have in here. If I want to go to a specific location, definitely I can go to that specific location. But mainly, as you can see on the connectivity information, we have something called client journey, and it will show you here if there is any currently active clients that have issues in here. I have 0 alerts. This is for all the SSIDs. If I'm looking for a specific SSID, I can choose that. I'll see, how many clients that they're connected to that SSID, but I want to see everything. Mainly why we call it client journey, because it will show you the number of clients that try to connect. Any of them, if they associated or have any failure on associating to a specific access point, and then the authentication. Depending if there's an issue of the authentication that they put the wrong password, or that maybe you have a configuration problem related to Radius, extensible authentication protocol, and also the networking. So let's say that on your firewall and a specific VLAN, you said that's DHCP server, but you didn't put the correct number when it comes to the pool. So maybe you're supposed to put 100, but you put only 10, and only the first 10 that's going to be connected, they're going to get an IP address. So this is kind of information that you're going to see under network. Um, Also, you can see the baseline of who's been affected. This is by default for the last 12 hours. And if you hover over it, you can see here some information related to it. It's the timestamp. The client's been affected is only one. And also the information that's related to an association failure. It's not related to authentication network failure. Uh, at the top, you can again filter it depending on the SSID, the band. Also, you can go back 1 week and you will see all the failures. Some of them that it's related to authentication, some of them related to the network, and so on. Also, it will give you an overview of the clients by most failed connection, depending if it's a phone or it's related to a camera or related to another type of phone. You will see all the information, and this is clickable, so you can click on it and go get more information about that specific client, right? So like, for example, if I want to see for this one, Galaxy S8, right, that's connected to my environment. So I can see here the username, the IP address that's been given to it. There's no performance issues found currently. But if I want to see what happened, so I can see here the timestamp, if it's successfully connected or not, all the information that relates to TCP server, DNS server, the communication, the SSID that's been assigned, the channel that's been assigned, the location of that specific client and the access point, but also see if there is an issue like incorrect PSK, right? Wrong passphrase being assigned in there. If I want to see more information, then I can go under client connection logs, client event logs, and it will give me the details of the details. So even if it is being connected, but I want to see what is happening in here, right? So I can see all the information that related to it. If there is incorrect PSK, so I can see that information as well. And as you can see, like for example, the DNS query that's getting an IP address, the VLAN 0 that is being connected to, so that's an untagged VLAN, the reassociation that is going to be happening in here, the authentication that it happened, all the information that's related to everything that's happening between the client and the access point. So definitely this is a place that you can dig deeper and found out if there is any issues. Right. Now, when it comes to other information that's available for you, I can click on performance and I see the client's health. So I have total of them, 6 of them that's been affected for different reasons. So one of them here because of a low RSSI, that it is actually the strength is below -75 dBm. And if I want to find out what's the phone or the device that's connected, I can see, okay, it's associated this SSID and the specific phone, that it is actually very far away from the access point, and they are not within the specific strength that or threshold that we set. Right. So going back here, also there's other reasons like low data rate, high retry rates, if there is any sticky clients. I have some information here that is related to DHCP server, the DNS server, so that I will see if there is any kind of delay or issue with these services. The applications latency, and here are the average in the last 12 hours, 61 milliseconds. So everything so far so good when it comes to these services. Also, again, really all the sites is that you can see on the application is the traffic, right? So if I'm gonna here go to the top level, and I'm gonna go under applications. Also, I can see the top application by traffic. So again, Xbox Live, SSL, Netflix, live meeting. So these are the most that it's being used in this scenario. If I want to get more information about the access points, the clients in my environment, I can go under monitor. Again, depending on the location, this is the highest level. So you're going to see everything when it comes to the client in there. You can go to specific client, you can rename that client. You can do some kind of live debugging related to it. You can filter here depending on what you're looking for. Say there is a specific range of IP addresses that you want to show in here, or depending on the operating system, definitely you can do the filtering as needed. Or I want to see all the access points in my environment. This is what I showed you earlier. The radios that is being used, which one that is being up or down, the active SSID for each environment, and what the authentication method that is being using. Also the uplink and the downlink for that SSID, and the application visibility. So this is also sometimes it's useful in the point that of knowing the different type of traffic that's going through the access point. So again, here Xbox Live and its games in the last 15 minutes, right? We have 3 gig that is being used in there. The last 4 hours, 60 gig. YouTube, let's say that I want to see YouTube, okay, the streaming media here. I can do application traffic, and I can start live of seeing if there's anyone that is using actually YouTube currently, or I see all these clients with the most application traffic that's related to YouTube. If I want to see the most when it comes to the total downlink, right, I can actually rearrange that and see which phone that it's using the most when it comes to YouTube. Right. So definitely all these information is going to be useful for you to pinpoint where is the issue, or find out what's the different patterns and behavior in your environment. Under troubleshoot, you can go there, and there's something called client connectivity test that you can create. I have one here for my environment under Montreal or Toronto. Once that you create this test, you can have different type of client connectivity test, and then you can run them on the moment, or run the test, or that you can schedule to another time. Usually, when you do the client connectivity test, you need at least two, or it can be more definitely access point, but two access point with wave two access point that they can actually do this test between each other and also going out. So to see what's inside it, if I go to add test profile, I can give it a name, the frequency that you want to test, the SSID that you want to test. And usually when I start doing this, it's let's say that you received an email, but the client is not there, and you want to know more information about what's going on. And the issue is the access point is going outside to the internet. Maybe the SSID has an issue, so you can actually gather this information from the client. If you have the client name or the IP address or the access point that he used to be connected to, then you can also do this test. So let's say that I choose all this information, then I can do the security mode. I'm going to set the password. What's the password that's being used to access? To see if the issue maybe it's that the end user put the wrong password, right? If there's the portal authentication test information, then we have the productivity maybe for Office 365, Google Drive, social. So the reachability to all these services, can I reach them through the access point or not? And also if there's a specific domain that I want to check in here, as well as the VoIP IP test, the call duration. It's going to actually kind of simulate this call through the Wi-Fi access point so that you will see the quality in there. Also the throughput test for internet and Wi-Fi, so that between access points. Let's say that you have a client connected to access point, and then they are connected to a service like printer or a streaming server, so that you need also the information about the internal one. Okay. I'm gonna leave this one, but I have here under the results some of them that they are passed, some of them that failed. So let's say, for example, the one that it's failed, why it failed, right? So you can see here all the information about this test when it's been done, the RSSI, the channel utilization, the SSID that is being used, and then I can see, okay, for association, there is no issue. Authentication, all is good. DHCP, it got an IP address. This is the latency, the DNS server, DHCP server. There's no issue with that. Gateway, I can reach to the outside in the gateway that I have, as well as the DNS server, the WAN latency, all that information that it will give me an indication, as well as the applications, right? I can reach all of these services. And also it will show you the response from them, also the page loading time for each one of these services that we have. The issue was with related to the VoIP test in here. So VoIP test has been failed, and mainly because the target AP was in consistent state at this stage. But sometimes it will, if it's passed, like for example, if I go here to this test that it passed and I go under VoIP test, it will show you here that's been successful, also the mean opinion. So it's like 4.4 out of 5 that it was a good quality voice over IP call, as well as the throughput test, right? So this one is related to the upload and download that it happened through the access point to the internet, and this one is related to UDP and TCP between the two access point internally, that the connectivity was good and everything was fine. Okay, so that was all for our webinar today about Wi-Fi and discovering Wi-Fi cloud. I hope that it was interesting and useful for you. Take a few seconds here just to scan this QR code so that you can fill the feedback survey. And definitely we're looking forward to see you again in the next webinar. Thank you so much.